Have you ever looked at a picture and instantly felt like something wasn't right? Not because it was graphic, not because it showed violence, but because every instinct in your body told you to look away, and yet for some reason you couldn't. For millions of people on the internet, that image was Smile Dog, a grainy photograph of what appears to be a husky staring directly into the camera with an impossibly human smile. It looks fake, it looks edited, and by today's standards, it's far from convincing. Yet more than 20 years later, people still describe the image as deeply unsettling. Why does a poorly edited picture make so many people uncomfortable? Why do some people find themselves staring at it longer than they should? And why does a smiling dog somehow feel wrong? Today, we're not just telling the story of Smile Dog, we're entering the psychology behind why this image has remained of one of the internet's most unforgettable horror icons. To understand Smile Dog, we first need to go back to the early days of the internet, long before social media, horror spread through forums, anonymous message boards, and chain emails. This was the golden age of creepypastas. Stories were copied and pasted from one website to another until their true origins disappeared. Some claimed to be true, others were obviously fake, but the uncertainty was part of the experience. One of the most famous of these stories was Smile Dog. According to the legend, anyone who viewed an image known as smile.jpg would begin suffering from horrifying nightmares every night. The same smiling dog would appear, silently watching them. Eventually, the victims would hear whispers urging them to spread the image to someone else. If they refused, the nightmare would never stop. Of course, none of this was ever real. There has never been any evidence that the image was cursed. But despite knowing that, thousands of people still found the picture disturbing. At first glance, Smile Dog shouldn't be scary. The editing is obvious. The smiling doesn't perfectly match, the quality is low, and the smile itself looks artificially added. If someone created this image today, most people would probably recognize it as a Photoshop within seconds. So why does it still work? The answer isn't hidden in the image, it's hidden inside us. Before we even understand why the picture feels unsettling, something else begins to happen. Many people find themselves unable to look away, not because they enjoy what they're seeing, but because their brains are trying to solve a puzzle. Why does this dog feel strangely familiar? Why does it smile like a human? The longer you stare, the more your mind searches for an explanation. It recognizes something familiar, but it also recognizes that something is wrong. Your brain keeps trying to fit the image into a category it already understands. A dog, a human, something in between. It never quite finds an answer, and that uncertainty keeps pulling your attention back to the image. Ironically, the first thing that makes you uncomfortable may also be the reason you can't stop looking. To understand why this happens, we need to talk about one of psychology's most fascinating ideas, the uncanny valley. The uncanny valley is a theory proposed by a Japanese roboticist, Masashori Mori, in 1970. It suggests as something becomes more human-like, we generally become more comfortable with it. A cartoon character can feel friendly, a realistic digital human can feel believable, but somewhere between obviously fake and perfectly real lies a strange middle ground. Something looks almost human, but not quite. Instead of feeling familiar, it creates discomfort. Our brains immediately recognize that something is off, even if we can't explain exactly what it is. You've probably experienced this before. A lifelike mannequin, an old animatronic, a realistic robot whose facial expressions feel unnatural, or a digital character that looks incredibly real but whose eyes seem empty. They're not frightening because they're monsters, they're frightening because they almost look normal, almost. Smile Dog creates a similar feeling, not because the dog itself looks human, but because one feature does, its smile. Dogs don't naturally smile the way people do. They can pant, They can appear relaxed, they can look excited, but they don't produce the wide, exaggerated grin that humans instinctively recognize. So when our brains see that smile placed on the dog's face, something strange happens. One part of the brain says, that's a dog. Another part says, that's a human expression. Those two ideas don't belong together. The result is a subtle psychological conflict. The image feels familiar and unfamiliar at the exact same time. Then there are the eyes. Human beings naturally pay close attention to eye contact. We use it to judge emotion, intention, and danger. Smile Dog appears to stare directly at the viewer. The expression never changes. The eyes never blink. They're simply watching. Even though it's just a still image, our brains react as if something might be looking back at us. It's completely irrational, but fear often begins long before logic has a chance to respond. The story surrounding Smile Dog also made the image much more powerful. Imagine seeing the picture with no explanation. You'd probably think it looked strange. Now imagine someone tells you that everyone who sees it begins having nightmares. Suddenly, every detail feels more important. Psychologists call this suggestion. Once we're given an expectation, our minds naturally begin searching for evidence to support it. If you happen to dream about the image later that night, you'll remember the warning. If something unlucky happens the next day, your brain might connect it to the supposed curse. This is closely related to the confirmation bias, where people notice events that support a belief while overlooking the countless events that don't. The legend grows stronger, not because the curse exists, but because our minds help keep the story alive. Timing also played a huge role. Smile Dog appeared during a very different internet. Information wasn't always easy to verify. People loved mysterious websites, haunted images, urban legends, and strange chain emails. There was always the possibility that maybe one story out there was real. The uncertainty made horror far more effective. Today we're surrounded by photorealistic visual effects and AI generated images. We've become harder to fool, but a blurry image from the early 2000s left room for imagination. And imagination is often far scarier than anything shown directly. So is Smile Dog actually frightening? Maybe not because of the picture itself. Maybe the image simply exposes something about how our own brains work. It combines familiar and unfamiliar features. It breaks the rules we expect faces to follow. It gives us a smile that doesn't belong, eyes that never stop watching, and just enough mystery to keep us searching for answers. Perhaps that's why people couldn't look away, not because they believed the image was alive, but because their brains kept trying to solve a puzzle that had no satisfying answer. Sometimes the most terrifying monsters aren't the ones hiding in the dark. Sometimes they're the ones our own mind can't quite explain.